Oh, we have talked about it before. It is important to know your rights when it comes to workers' compensation. Catherine Stone from Injury Florida Law is back. This morning, we're going to explain why occupational exposure claims are so difficult to prove. I say we, you're going to explain this because right off the bat I was confused. I would imagine that these cases really are difficult. Yeah, and you said there's some changes that's even making it more difficult.
They've always been difficult, and even when I represented insurance companies and defended these claims, there was always a lot to go into defending them, but there was also a lot in being able to be successful against the insurance companies in proving that whatever the condition was that the claimant was alleging was directly related to an occupational exposure, either to fume.
Yeah, explain what that is.
So that is, you have been exposed to a gas, a fume, a smell from chemicals. I had one years ago where it was, this is back before everything was digitized, the diagnostic equipment, the dyes that they were using to make x-rays.
Could it be as simple as like mold in a building?
Yes, absolutely. Mold in a building, asbestos in a building.
Which you still hear? Do you still hear those cases currently?
Yes. Okay. There's actually a building in downtown that's undergoing remediation for that. But the First District Court of Appeals has handed down several cases recently that have made it much more difficult than it already was for injured workers to be successful in proving their claims. And they've basically said that the statute requires that you be able to identify the level of exposure. So for instance, if you can't quantify exactly how much and the identity of the compound that you were exposed to, under the case law, the First District Court of Appeals reversed a lot of lower court judges who found in favor of claimants, because a lot of times what happens is by the time we get to the point in being in litigation and by the time we get to a trial, a lot of times the evidence is gone.
Yeah, well, that's what my first thought is. It's not even like a doctor can get into.
Right. And so the evidence, if the evidence is gone, then it's pretty much impossible to be able to prove these claims now, which is why it's so incredibly important that if you have any type of occupational exposure that results in an injury, that results in you losing time from work or a disability, you immediately need to notify your employer. You immediately need to file a claim, and you need to make sure that the employer tests as soon as possible, if it's still available, whatever the chemical compound was that has caused the occupational exposure.
And I hate to say this, but I'm assuming a lot of times when people realize there's been a health issue,
it's too late.
It's too late to figure out, to pinpoint and go,
one of the reasons I talked about this was I've had several clients, prospective clients, reach out to me about some occupational exposure claims, and with the inability to be able to quantify the exact level of the exposure or the actual compound, what the chemical was, because there's a lot of he said, she said, and even though you can do a request for, they're called MSDS sheets to the employer about any kind of chemical that they've used to clean or anything like that, if another employee decides to mix something different with it, then how do you know exactly how much the level was? So it's extremely, extremely difficult. And that's why I just tell clients, look, the minute you feel like you've been exposed to something, you've got to stop, you've got to reach out to somebody and say, I want testing done.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much again for your time. Again, I'm so glad you do what you do. If you have any questions for Catherine, she loves to answer them. There's the phone number and website as well.